Alright, welcome back everybody. So, here we go. Set number 2 of the TwoPools 2 deciders. The winner gets into the quarterfinals, the loser is out in the group stage. We'll have the Max and Villese for Suomi versus Bruh+Sitaux. This is a very interesting matchup from multiple perspectives. Bruh+Sitaux are the underdogs, but they were also the underdogs in the qualifiers. They played against TwoPools and Zuppi, and they won against TwoPools and Zuppi 3-0. So let's see if the other Suomi team can avenge their fallen teammates. And we will have a special co-caster for this set as well. Zuppi will be joining me, who is going to give us a very good insight to Suomi's strategies, being a teammate of Max and Villese, and also very good insight to how it feels like to play against Bruh+Sitaux, because he definitely has experience with that, as he played with TwoPools against the Bruh+Sitaux in the qualifier. So let's join up with Zuppi, and let's take his opinion on the draft. So yeah, Zuppi is gonna be here in a moment. We will have a Lithuanian and Mongol global bans, by the way. Other than that, we have Persians, Mayans, Chinese, Japanese, Britons, Berbers, Italians, Vikings, Ethiopians, and Malians. For the first pools, Byzantines, Malay, Celts, Goths, Sicilians, and Burgundians, Turks, Incas, Koreans, and Bulgarians will be the pool 2 civs. And if I'm not mistaken, Zuppi is here now.
Hello, I am indeed here. Good day, everyone, and Mr. Lidagor as well, and thank you for having me as a caster today for this set.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So let's jump right in the middle of things, and I'm gonna ask you, how do you feel about this draft overall?
Yeah, I was given the draft information like 10 minutes ago by Robo, and I have been trying to check the maps and the civs and trying to slot the civs and the combinations in a way that they make sense. And honestly, I have no idea what to make of these. Obviously, they both have picked good civs for themselves and then kind of awkward civs for the opponents. And it's going to be up to the teams to juggle them in a correct way to get good combinations for the civs and for the plans they have. It's really hard to say what they will be picking for any of the maps and who has the better draft.
Yeah, are you surprised about the home maps of Suomi here?
Not really, no. They like to play Team Islands, they're good at those, and also Coast Mountain is also kind of standard. Also, the Bruh+Sitaux, they also picked kind of standard maps. So I can see that both of the teams, they want to play more standard maps and not those unpredictable and more messy maps.
Do you think we are going to see another Sicilian First Crusade on Team Islands like Suomi did against Tempo?
I have no idea. I'm hoping to see a Sicilian Deuce on Team Islands. I mean, that could be strong. Followed by a Dungeon Rush. Yeah, that would be good.
Alright, if you're ready, let's jump into game number 1. I'm gonna be paused at 10 seconds, so let me know when you're there and we can start together.
Sure, I'm just loading the first track now.
So, we're gonna have Arabia with what is an interesting start. Villese and Max will be playing British and Sicilians versus Bruh+Sitaux with Bulgarians and Franks.
Yeah, I'm ready now, by the way.
Alright. Let's do a countdown then with 3, 2, 1, and go.
Alright.
So, welcome to Arabia. With me is Zuppi to take a look at Suomi's civilizations, Sicilians, and the Britons. Is this something that you would have expected from your teammates?
Well, when you look at the civs that they were given by the opponents, Sicilians is their best knight civ, right? They have gods, Byzantine Malay, and Celts. And you don't really want to be playing in knights with those. So maybe they thought that they need to go with the Sicilians. So in that sense, it's not a huge surprise. But I was thinking that they could maybe use Malay or Byzantine for the archers and maybe Persian or Chinese for the knight civ. But they chose to go this way, and it's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, other side is Vikings, Bulgarians, and if you would have to compare the two teams with civilizations, do you prefer Vikings, Bulgarians, or Sicilians, Britons?
Well, Bulgarians, obviously, their knight play scales better than Sicilians, and they have decent bonuses as well. Yeah, Sicilian also has a farm bonus, which is not bad. Viking, obviously, they have great ego, but Briton have the better range. So I would say it's really even civs, and the plays they do is going to play a big part, not the civs.
So, what are your expectations here for Suomi? You said that they will play standard, so we're just gonna see like straight archers and scouts, or maybe you're gonna go a little bit riskier with Britons for a Drush FC?
Yeah, looking from the map, Villese at least has a great map that he could wall quite easily to abuse that Briton Drush FC, which is extremely strong. So, but I don't know what kind of call they make, but it's an option for sure.
So we're gonna have the first boar in for Villese, who also lames away 3 sheep from Sitaux. That is a nice start for Suomi from an eco perspective.
Yeah, it's really nice thief indeed, and he's looking for the boar, or the elephant, but chooses not to steer the elephant. Sometimes players they don't feel comfortable sacrificing the scout HP, because in the early fighting, if there's a lot of early fighting, the scout HP is really crucial, and maybe even more important than the boar food that you get. And well, it was behind the base as well, so it's really risky to steal that. Looking at the other players, they are looking pretty standard. 3 on wood for both Bruh and Max, so looking like scouts play, no Sicilian dues coming from Max this time. I have a funny anecdote though. We did play a practice set with Villese and Max for our qualifier matches, and we gave Max Burgundians, and in the first game of Arabia, he actually dused me with Burgundians. And I was extremely pissed, as you can expect, but in this game we are not seeing any deuces from Max, which is a little bit disappointing, I have to say.
Aw. Were you surprised, or did you actually win that game then?
No, I actually panicked myself against the deuce. But it can be strong, it can be really strong shock treatment. Anyway, no sign of that happening in this one.
Alright, we got some Vols coming in here for Villese, and he is going for a Drush here. Whereas Max is just going for the standard Scouts build overall. He is not bringing in his second boar just yet, though. Something that is a bit of an issue. He should be bringing that second boar in by now, right?
Yeah, he has taken all his ostrich, and maybe he forgot about Singapore. I mean, yeah, sometimes it happens, but you can't really afford to make that kind of mistakes in this kind of tournament games. But he is not reacting in any way for the second elephant, so that's pretty surprising to see. Let's see. I'm gonna pay attention when he's going to notice that.
Maybe he didn't see that. Like, it's actually at the edge of Fog of War for him, and maybe he didn't see it and it just walked into his line of sight. That could be something, but still, it's awkward that...
Yeah, it definitely is. Anyway, while we are watching at the board, another Villese Drush is hitting Sitaux in his berries, and he has to abandon. Max is also there, his scouts. Probably Bruh is gonna send his scouts to help him as well, but this is already good damage, I would say. It's gonna buy a lot of time for Villese to go fast castle himself, and it's gonna delay the eco of Sitaux, even though he will get the gold mining going, and losing the mill. He might actually lose the mill. That's really annoying.
Yeah, he would definitely lose this mill because I don't think that he can fight this right now. And as you said, that's great value because those berries are pretty much untouched. So Sito is gonna have to rebuild a mill there. And this is obviously not how he imagined his start. He's gonna go straight archers here. And Max now brings in the second board. Better late than never.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe it's the next level play that he has made the calculations to do it this way. You never know of these physicians or these engineers of the Finns, what they come up with. Anyway, losing the mill is a huge issue in the sense that his food eco is lacking a lot, which means that he can't afford blacksmith and fletching so easily, and which also means that they can't put pressure on Villese so easily. So Villese should have quite comfortable time going to Castle Age himself after the damage they have done. And I'm interested to see how the Bruh+Sitaux team is going to react to this and how will they approach.
Yeah, indeed, that's going to be interesting to look at, because Sicilians will have a slightly stronger eco with the farming bonus compared to Bulgarians, so they should have no trouble matching up against Bulgarian scouts until Bloodlines comes in for Bulgarians. But as you said, the biggest thing is that Villese is going to have an untouched Bruh+FC here.
Yeah, and he's even making sure that he doesn't get breached. He's setting the second layer of Palisade while still keeping those militias active. They shouldn't find any more damage now. Sito has some archers on the field and is going to go chasing those militias away. But Villese is about to be up himself, so he should be completely safe against any kind of pressure that they can apply.
Oh, some issues coming to the other side though for Max's base, because he's still open, and now scouts from Bruh are hitting him.
Yeah, Max didn't finish the walls in time, and now the spearmen also get in. So it's not that huge damage. I don't think he has lost any vills. He was able to save that one villager, but he's still open and has to deal with this.
Yeah, indeed, he didn't lose a single vill, but it's going to cost some idle time, and now the archers from Sito could be going his way, because even without fletching, they can do some damage on lumberjacks, and so...
Yeah, they are definitely going his way, as we see, and Max is also finding one villager kill from Bruh that he was trying to wall, but he also only has a few scouts there now, and the huge issue is going to be in his base, because he's still open, and those archers could come in, and... Well, Sicilians, they are kind of even with Bulgarians, I would have to say, in the feudal and also castle age, but not if you could take damage like this. So this is looking rough for him, but at the same time, Max is also finding a woodline of Bruh with 3 scouts, so he should be able to kill a couple of vills at least. But
yeah, that is looking fairly even, I would say, from that perspective, so... we have 2 villagers killed by Max, and he didn't lose a single one, so there is some idle time on him, but he isn't losing villagers, which is the main thing for him right now.
yeah, that also, but he's also having to relocate a lot of vills, and his economy has been a little bit messy, so it's not extremely smooth sailing for him, so it's gonna have an effect for sure.
A defensive dungeon coming in on the gold mine, because Sicilians can't make defensive towers, so you have to go for a defensive dungeon here.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit premature to do it there, because that gold pile was not being threatened, and now the archers, they could go to the other side and start pressuring from the north of his base, but actually the archers seem to escape. Max has found some damage in the base of Bruh, and seems to be a couple of villagers ahead at least. And he's going to find another vill at the wall.
Yeah, that is a very, very nice start for Max. He also delays the blacksmith of Bruh, which hurts very, very badly for the yellow player. And we shouldn't overlook the fact that behind this one, Villese has a very, very nice Bruh+FC, and he's waiting until he has like 9 or 10 crossbows to move out.
Yeah, he has now great timing to do damage, but actually Sitaux is also getting really good Castle Edge timing, already 30% to up all very soon, so the window for Villese is not that huge. And when I'm watching Max and Brew economies, Brew is about to close up. So even though he lost a few wheels, his economy has been more smoother than Max's, and Max is still far away from clicking up. So that's going to be an issue unless Villese can do a lot of damage.
Indeed, that could be an issue. Sitaux is only one range as well, goes for defensive tower on the gold. That might not be the best spot for that tower, though. I feel like it could have been to the right of the gold mine instead, because that's where the crossbows will be coming from.
Yeah, the tower isn't going to give him total safety for the gold mining, so it's a little bit misplaced, I would say. It doesn't cover the gold completely. And let's see, now the crossbows. This is going to be a really crucial moment for the game.
Indeed, especially with the extra range of Britons, they can pick off those archers very, very easily. But it's +1/+1 on those archers. And I think you were right about the fact that the window for Villese was there, but he's idling the opponent a little bit, but it's not like it's a big deal. And now Vikings will have a way better eco than Britons will.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to kill any wheels, but well, he's getting some idle, and he was forced to make the towers, so that is going to affect on the boom. He can't add more TCs, and Villese is adding a second TC himself. And Brew is halfway to up now, and Max just now clicked, so the knights are going to be there faster, and Villese crossbows are going to be in danger pretty soon.
Indeed, but we shouldn't overlook the fact that Brew lost 5 villagers overall in feudal age to the scout, so as I said, the knights will be faster, but his eco is going to be probably now weaker than Max's eco. But Max won't be able to add additional TCs early because he made a dungeon and he spent all his stone on that.
Yeah, and also he doesn't have the market yet, but I don't think he's looking to add TCs anyway. He wants to play full knights to support the Briton player. Briton player already has a small advantage economy-wise and boom-wise thanks to the tower. So if they can keep the army numbers up, keep the crossbow numbers up, go up faster with the Britons, and that should be okay for them. So maybe the boom is not so important for Max in this case.
Yeah, indeed. It might be just the Britons trying to get to like a fairly strong eco with 2 TCs ballistics now coming in for both players. But as you said, we're gonna have Bulgarians' second TC coming in for Brew here, and that could mean that he can catch up in villagers compared to Max, even though he lost 5 in feudal.
Yeah, if you play 2 TCs against 1 for sure. But actually, while I was talking about no stone for Max, he has the market on both the stones, so he's gonna start booming himself as well. So it's not an issue. The game is really even, I would say.
Yeah, it is. Especially with Sicilians building TCs faster. He can actually catch up with that TC timing as well. It's 22 crossbows versus 12 though, so numbers advantage is on the side of Villese and Max here, and that is something to pay attention for, especially with Villese holding the hill.
I think Villese should be able to hold really easily, just escape, delete the walls, and run away if he has to. The scouts and the knights have +2, but Villese indeed has a number. Sitaux has been on 1 range only this entire game, so he doesn't have the army numbers, but still they're finding surprisingly a lot of crossbow kills, I have to say.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of crossbows going down here, and even though the upgrades are even, ballistics was in faster for Sitaux, so that also helped quite a bit most likely. And it looks like we'll have a couple of wheels going down here from Villese.
Yeah, I didn't see that this damage would happen. Like they had the more numbers, he has more range, and there were only a few scouts and knights, and this attack did actually quite nice damage. Good few wheels, good a lot of crossbows. So despite Sitaux only now adding the second range, the army numbers, they are pretty even, 14 to 15.
And we also have to look at the knights, because right now Max's knights have just +1 defense and bloodlines, but look at Brew's knights, it's +1/+2 and bloodlines, so 3 TC boom, double stable knights, and he also has very good upgrades on those. Brew is going to be a dangerous cavalry player here, even though his eco is not as good as the eco of Max.
Yeah, the eco bonus of Sicilians, in the end, it's a bit better than any, like, well, Bulgarians, they save the stone on the TC, so that's a small bonus, but the farm bonus is actually pretty big when you think about it, but as Bulgarians, he was able to afford all the upgrades for the knights, so that's going to play a huge part in the fights that are going to come. Max still is lacking +2.
Sitaux going for TC number 2 right now, trying to catch up with Eco, and he's gonna go for a fast Thumbring, which is gonna be an advantage over Britons. Britons will not be able to grab that Thumbring for themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure that they are looking to force fights when they know that that they are against the Briton and they don't want to let him get to Imp with a huge mass. And also they know that they have better upgrades on the Knight, so another reason to force fights if they can do it. The TC from Villese was quite close to being denied by it, but he just gets it just in time, so it doesn't lose too many wheels. And now a lot of fighting happening in the base of Villese.
Yeah, indeed, the Thumbring crossbows will help quite a bit for Sitaux, but it's the extra range of Villese that could be scary for Vikings.
Yeah, and Villese also has been able to outnumber Sitaux once again. Obviously, that Briton faster ranges help a lot, and the fact that Sitaux was only one range for a long time. So now he has the army numbers to really chase him away from his base. And Villese's economy is looking extremely good. He's not far away from clicking to him.
Yeah, he's missing one building that he just finished, and you said this, indeed, that an early Imperial from Villese could be big, and Max could also attack the base of Bruh now, with a couple of knights trying to get through the walls and force a fight.
Yeah, this is always a really nice distraction when you're fighting in another side. You can always try to rate the knight player if you can afford with the knight numbers and with the time. So if those knights get in, it's going to be really annoying for him to deal with that. But Bruh is on point and he's able to housebolt behind it. So nice reactions by him.
Yeah,
or
it's
not quite. Yeah.
Yeah, not quite. There is a hole. It's actually a very hard hole to spot.
Yeah, I'm sure that he was thinking that he was already safe, but misplacing that one house just a tiny bit. And now this is going to be a massive damage. A lot of idle wheels and +2 knights with +1 attack as well are going to kill a lot of wheels. So this is really devastating for Bruh.
Yeah, this is looking really grim for him, and his eco was already weaker than the eco of Max. And what's even more important is that Max will have a pretty much untouched way into Imperial, so in 2 minutes he's going to have Arbalest with 10 range.
Yeah, and at this point, they don't have many options dealing with that. Yes, Sitaux has a lot of crossbows himself, but he can't really engage unless they can force a crucial fight. And right now, there are not many ways of forcing such a fight, is there? I don't think so.
Yeah, Bruh took a big damage. Bruh lost 22 villagers in this game, which feels way too much.
Yeah, both the Finns are about 20 wheels ahead of their counterparts, and the economic difference is really huge. Surprisingly big, but that's what it does when you force a tower for the archer player or either of the players. You can't really afford to make all the upgrades, ballistics, and also town centers with the tower up, so his boom was compromised a lot.
Indeed, and Vikings should have a very strong eco, but as you said, there was so much aggression in the face of Sitaux that he wasn't able to boom as good as Max or Villese. TC number 4 coming in for Bruh, he's still believing, but unless they destroy this army of crossbows right now, they have a very, very low chance of having any hope in the future, because Arbalest will just destroy everything that is a Castle Age unit, basically.
Yeah, they are trying to get the fight, but Max is doing good way. Jandising with the knights in the front of the crossbows and not letting the knights engage. And at the same time, Sitaux is trying to come from behind, but the pincer attack is not perfectly timed, and he's going to lose the small group of archers that try to come to help. And Bruh and Sitaux, they are saying screw this fight, and they're going all in on Max now and hoping to do some damage and catch up that way. But crossbows and knights are entering the base of Sitaux, and there is no stopping that. Max should take some damage as well, though. But is it going to be enough?
I think the main difference is that Max is the Castle Age player, so he takes some damage, but the Imperial Age player is still alive with a good amount of orbs, whereas on the other side, Sitaux is the only player going into Imperial, and he had to replace his Imp. he just restarted Imp because I think his Imp DC was under attack.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened there, and yeah, that was definitely what happened, and they are getting those TCs down extremely fast. And it's all good for the Finns in the first game, I have to say.
Yeah, it looks very good. At this stage, if you are the Finns, you think that they are focusing down TCs because they know that Sitaux wants to get into Imperial?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I think that is one reason for rushing down TC so fast.
Now it
also, yeah, Max is suffering a lot, but it's not that huge deal. Bruh himself is far away from Imp, or is he? Let's check the resources. Yeah, he's kind of far away from Imp. He's going all in Knights, but the all in Knights is in Castle Age is not going to stop those Arbalists. So when they are done brutalizing Sitaux, they will just move to Bruh, and they won't have a way of stopping that. And Max also reaching Imp as the second player of the game.
And indeed, right when he reaches Imperial, they will just resign, but even if Max wasn't Imp, Max still has 92 villagers. He's just full of TCs in his base. Sicilian bonus comes in helpful here. But
yeah, he was able to build a lot of TCs for the protection of Wills, and he also got Botkin Arrow for the TC fires, so the Knights die a lot faster. That's something actually a lot of players don't do, but Max is really smart, and often you see that from him. Gives a lot of protection against TC raids.
And indeed, like, Sitaux was down to 33 villagers, so it was almost impossible for them to come back from this. And Suomi takes game number 1, Arabia. I don't think I'm that surprised, because Suomi is the favorite of this set. So I think Arabia is something where I would probably expect them to win. It's more about the home maps of Bruh+Sitaux that could be interesting. Speaking of that, their home maps are Eruption and Cape of Storms. Are you actually surprised they haven't chosen Forest Pond?
Not really, no. I think I have to say I haven't been watching that many games in the tournament after we went out with Rubenstock, but I have been watching the results. And well, I have no idea what they have played before, so can't say I'm surprised not seeing Forest Bond, but I think they are comfortable playing in the Cape of Storms, and Eruption is another of those crossbow knight massing maps, and I think they are really good at that kind of style, even though they lost Arabia quite convincingly. But I think that kind of play style is their bread and butter as well, so I'm not really surprised by those maps.
Yeah, the interesting thing for Bruh+Sitaux is that they beat Hera and Leary on Forest Bond, so I would have expected them to try and play that here. What is scary for them, I believe, on Cape of Storms is that Max and Villese looked really strong versus Lan and Hart in Cape of Storms. Villese did a lot of laming with Gods. I remember that he sent like 5 forward wills to kill Huntables. So I think that's something that we can see in this one as well, because we're going to Cape of Storms.
Okay, that's interesting, because if Bruh+Sitaux have seen that game, and they have seen that game, they have given Suomi goats. So I don't know what the second game is going to be just yet. So, but having that in mind, we might see goats in that map again.
All right,
from the Finns.
I'm at 10 seconds, so whenever you're ready, we can get going with the second game.
All right, you are fast, are you not? I was still stuck looking at the statistics a little bit. Let me just open up the second game. All right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So...
well, it's our first time casting together, so we are a little bit out of sync as well. So anyway, I have the...
all right.
I have the game open.
Let's do...
now, so...
let's do a 3, 2, 1, and go. So welcome to Cape of Storms. Sitaux is going to be playing in red, Ethiopians on the right. The pocket will be Turks for Bruh in yellow versus Celts for Villese in blue and Persians for Max in green. So Villese is not going for the laming this time with Gods. He will just play Celts here.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising if the Gothic claiming worked so well for them, but maybe they have other plans. And also you have to keep in mind what civs you have for the remaining maps. So maybe they think that they don't have much use for Celts, but actually God could perform better in certain maps.
Beautiful
So,
wood line, by the way, for Max. He finds a very, very nice spot for that lumber camp.
yeah, well, it's in the middle, fitting nicely. Not most wood in that spot, but it will do for now. So what do we have here? Ethiopians and Turks and Celts and Persons. Well, from playing Sitaux and Bruh in the qualifiers, I know that they like to use Turks for these maps for the mass scouts play, and Ethiopians probably for the mass archer play. So it should be looking quite standard. I wonder what Max+Villese have thought of in order to counter that kind of playstyle, because for sure they should be aware of that kind of plan of the opponents.
I think that on this map, Men-at-Arms opening with Celts could be reasonable. And we only got 3 on wood though for Villese, although that with Celts is fairly standard. Alternative is that I think Villese could go for water as well, and just use the Celtic wood bonus to help him make fire galleys.
Yeah, it could be an option, and we have thought about this map, and or we talked when we practiced, and how you kind of want to go for the forward docks next to the enemy docks, so you can really spam those fire galleys and enter the enemy fish pretty early. And I'm sure that we have also seen that in the other games as well. But the issue when you do that is that you are falling behind in the army numbers in land. So is it going to be enough to offset the lack of military numbers on land? It's complicated.
Yeah, this is a very, very complicated map overall. Like, with the extra hunt that spawns, the possibility to go for water, and I think the thing that really makes this interesting in water is that it takes so much time to get to the opponent's fish. So it's not that straightforward that you play with a lot of fire galleys, like, let's say, Kawasan, where you're so close that you just drop a dock and then you fight with fire galleys.
Yeah, definitely. If you go full water, then the opponents, even if they are playing with 1 dock each, they will have a lot of time to pump out a few fire galleys in defense, and that's going to buy them a lot of time to do damage on land. So yeah, that's definitely an issue, and we can see that Villese is not opting for the forward dock himself. He's going for quite a defensive dock, I would have to say.
Yeah, indeed, both of the Finns will have some docks up, and it looks like Sitaux is not playing any water, so as things stand, especially with 1 villager on gold, this feels like a very fast feudal with all the hunt into like a super fast. This is going to be an 18 pop archer build, maybe from Sitaux.
Yeah, it is, and it must be something that he has practiced, because I'm really surprised by the timing of the mining camp. Like, what is the reason for making the mining camp this early? With the Ethiopians, you do get some extra gold as well, so you don't need the mining camp this early. He doesn't have a barrack either, going just up just now, so definitely it's not going to be man-at-arm play. But I'm sure they have practiced something and have something in mind. So let's see how smooth the build is going to be.
Yeah, Villese is playing a much more standard play here. It could very well be Men-at-Arms with this barracks timing from him. And Celtic Men-at-Arms will be good at chasing down early archers, so that's something that helps Celts here on this map.
Yeah, definitely, but once you get few archers with fletching, the Men-at-Arms don't really do that much. Bruh is finding the easy of Villese is getting some damage, already a little bit unfortunate for him. Max is looking to go scouts, probably doesn't have barrack yet, but he should come just now.
Yeah, that barracks timing will be just fine. So we will see if Bruh actually goes for a lot of water combat. He's adding a lot of fishing ships, so he definitely goes heavy on water. But if he's not going for any kind of water fighting, the Finns will have a better benefit from water, because both of the Finns are on water right now.
Yeah, definitely. But Bruh is going double range straight away, so he's going to have a lot of army numbers. Villese is going to add the militia while he's up into feudal age, and he's not attacking quite yet, but those militias, they should not cause any damage apart from forcing the archers of Sitaux to chase them. So that could be a good option for them. Like, probably no damage is going to happen against the archers, but might buy time for themselves to wall up nicely.
Yeah,
Maybe
indeed.
That's what he's looking to do.
We'll do some team walls here on the right side for Villese. I like the decision from Sitaux to bring in the third elephant as well. So, many players don't do that, but it is just free food, and it's a very, very good source of food, so bringing that in is always nice.
Yeah, definitely. And he needs it. He's not on the fish eco. So I have to say I don't like not going to the water, because once he's going to eat those elephants, he doesn't even have a meal because there are no berries on this map. So what is he gonna do? He's not gonna have any sustainable food eco after that Huntable is going down. So yes, he's gonna have a lot of archers, and he's probably gonna get fletching quite fast for that mass of archers, but his uptime should be extremely slow.
Look at that, there's a double stable play from Brew, very, very fast here. So it looks like both of our warm color players are going for sort of a more unique build, so to say.
Yeah, they are definitely looking to mass those feudal armies and force fights and do damage in the feudal age. They are really compromising their long-term plan, in my opinion, doing this kind of massive feudal plays. Also, Brew is getting now this blacksmith already, so double scouts with blacksmith upgrades. It could be scary, honestly. It could be really hard to hold.
Especially with the extra pierce armor on those scouts already, so... Like, Vilese's only one range, and it's very, very easy to overchop these wood lines. You have to be very careful. So, this is almost like a feudal age all-in from Brew and Sitaux, but as you said, this could be very dangerous.
Yeah, it definitely looks like an all-in if I have ever seen one in Age of Empires. There's not much sustainability in the build of Sitaux especially. It doesn't have the blacksmith just yet. I have to see if he has the wood. He doesn't have the wood or the food for... Well, should have fletching. Food for the fletching soon, but doesn't have the blacksmith just yet.
But he has the numbers, and he's got Ethiopians, so it's 11 archers versus 3, and at this stage, Villese doesn't have a blacksmith either, so... As you said, this is going to be very scary for the Finns, because those walls won't hold for long.
Yeah, they definitely won't want. Max has a lot of scouts with the plus armor. He's going for the engagement and he's forcing the fight. And with that armor and no fletching on the archers, those scouts are actually getting a reasonable trade. Actually, I would say that that's a really great trade for the Finns.
Yeah, it's an amazing trade, actually. Like, look at how the scouts are still alive, and you did say that the fletching being late for Sitaux is going to be a problem. Indeed, it becomes a big problem, because now it's 8 archers versus 6. All the archer numbers are gone for Brew and Sitaux.
Yeah, the fletching is just now coming in, but it's way too late. He has a great mass of archers, and because of the fletching, those scouts of Brew, they were kind of fighting 1v1 against the scouts of Max and the fletching less archers of Sitaux. They didn't really contribute to this fight. They had way more army, but the lack of fletching really bite them in the ass. And at the same time, I'm having a look at the ecos. Max is far away from castle, Brew as well, really going all in for the scouts. So, really massive feudal plays here indeed.
Yeah, I feel like the big problem is that you have double stables for Brew, but it's not like he's able to produce consistently on those. And, like, at this stage, his scouts only have +1 attack and the pierce armor from Turks. He's getting a market up and he's very heavy on gold. So do you think that it's gonna be like, you know, Turks on gold and then just use the market heavily?
Yeah, looks like that a lot. He does have a lot of on the food with the fish. He has double dogs. Max also has double dogs, so it's a wash. But yeah, as you are saying, he definitely is using the market, and now his eco is not looking that far away from clicking to up, but actually chooses to get +1 armor for the scout. So those scouts are going to be +2 pierce armor.
Yeah, that means that archers do 1 damage on them. But we have Castle Age on the way for Villese, and we're getting closer to the Celtic crossbow play and potentially a forward siege workshop to eat some TCs.
Yeah, I think they definitely should go for it, because if it goes long term, then the transition from Celts to anything else than crossbows is going to be really awkward and give a lot of time for Bruh+Sitaux to do damage. And as I was saying earlier in the game, I was saying that the economy of Sitaux is not sustainable, and this is something else. 22 wins on the gold, and it's really also looking to abuse that market. And with Bruh also doing the same, the prices are not that great, and probably Villes also used the market even earlier than that, or maybe not. But if you were talking about this as being a really heavy feudal all-in, it's getting even more ridiculous all-in, I have to say. They absolutely have no sustainability at all.
Yeah, as you said, it's a very, very heavy market usage, and when people complain about market abuse, they talk about this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it can save you from a pinch if you have a bad eco and unbalanced eco. It can really save you, but this is not going to be sustainable long time. His economy is terrible, I have to say. So they really are on a timer to do a lot of damage in the early castle. The feudal age is kind of lost now. They can't do anything more. But now their timing is going to be on the castle age, and they definitely are on a timer.
Yeah, especially because they only start with like one big gold pile close to their base. Like the secondary gold here for Sitaux is on the front, so he's gonna have to move to the north early to have any kind of extra gold once he runs out of this gold mine.
Yeah, it's gonna be even more awkward then. And crossbows are out for Villes, and they will chase Sitaux all the way home. Max has made a lot of scouts, so he's going to upgrade light cows, and those can help in the fighting a lot. And they could even maybe go and really catch them off guard before Sitaux should be able to get away, so that's fine for him.
Yeah, indeed. There is going to be ballistics by the time that Sitaux gets up to Castle Age, and a War Galley upgrade coming in here for Villes. So he wants that a couple of Fire Galleys to push the fishing geek of Bruh+Sitaux. We haven't talked about this, but right now Suomi has a 10 villagers lead, mostly coming from fishing.
Yeah, it definitely comes from the fish, and the fight for the water has been surprisingly peaceful. But as we speak now, there is a lot of big fight happening now. Lightcaps from Max, but I think they might be a little bit overextending. There are more knights from Bruh and only Lightcaps from Max, and they will get chased away, but are not able to trap those crossbows, which would have been great for them. But Max is doing a good job with the Lightcaps, staying in the front of the knights so they can't surround the crossbows. So he should get away with reasonable numbers.
But here is husbandry, and they could chase that army of crossbows down easily. It's Ethiopian crossbows versus Celts, and also Turkish light cavalry, so they have 5 pierce armor. And the upgrades on the knights for Bruh are very, very good, actually.
Yeah, they are. I was commenting the vanguard job that Max was doing, but now at the last moment he's going to abandon those crossbows to their fate, and they are going to fall behind in the army numbers. Yes, they have the economy lead, but do they have a way of dealing with these knights and crossbows? Villes doesn't have a big mass anymore. He's adding siege. Yes, Max has great ego and he has persons. He can go full knights to really kill those crossbows, but Bruh also has the option to add camels. And then when you have a mass camel and crossbows, you can't really kill those with knights. So it could be awkward for them.
Yeah, indeed. If this was an all-in already, this is gonna get even more so all-in, because Bruh is about to lose his fishing eco here to the fire ships.
Yeah, that's actually a nice call to go to the water. The fight for the water has been really peaceful so far, and neither team has really made any contest there. But now, well, Bruh is taking a huge hit in his eco, and he's only adding 1 TC, and his farming eco is not looking great either. But they do have the army numbers, and they are inside, so it's going to be about how much damage they can do before they finally have the army. Villes tried to get the Mangonar to snipe the crossbows, but Sitaux does a nice dodge.
He did delete it, right?
Yeah, probably.
Nice split there from Sitaux. He could have annihilated that army with that Mangonar shot, but that didn't work. And as you said, This is really the definition of an all-in. Not a lot of eco, but it's going to be a lot of army there. It's double the army right now for Bruh and
but it's
Sitaux.
also person TCs, so even if they have a lot of knights, it's going to be a long shot to kill any of those TCs. And Max has a lot of TCs, is already locating some vills to the north of the map and forcing a TC on the main code pile. So even though they are getting some vill kills, the economic difference is huge. And unless they can start tearing down those town centers, they are, even though they have the damage and they have the army in their base, they are, even then they are falling behind, slowly but surely.
Yeah, because, as I said, they're not actually doing enough damage. There is no siege to take down TCs, there isn't enough knights to take down Persian TCs here. And Max is on 4 TCs booming with Persians, so if that's a consistent villager production, he's gonna be up to 100 in like 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, but he can't really produce that many knights right now because his farming eco is idling a lot and doesn't have that many builds on the farms in any way. So, and the food eco also on the water is becoming inefficient. He's having to add some fishing traps, so that's not going to help him that much either. So it's going to take some time before they can clean this up.
Nice counterattack from Max on the north, because the walls weren't finished by Bruh, so this is the bigger problem for Bruh and Sitaux. They're killing a few vills from Max, but they're also losing a lot back at home, so the villager difference isn't actually getting smaller, it's actually getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, definitely. Village is also 3TC booming. Sitaux is not concerned of booming, just now adding the second TC, but his farming eco is also looking really small. And well, the crossbows and knights, they are under the or behind the enemy lines, but yeah, as we have been saying, they are not finding any more damage.
Yeah, it's the same thing as the Arabia games end. Like, Max had TCs everywhere, and even though there were like a lot of knights, they couldn't do any damage because you can just jump into TCs and hold out.
Yeah, and it's really hard to decide what to do when you are in the shoes of Bruh+Sitaux. Like, do they add the siege and really push Villese and really kill him? If they do that, because they themselves have quite bad eco, it would buy a lot of time for Max to mass a massive amount of knights to finally come and clean that. Or do they go and try to raid Max, which will in turn give a lot of time for Villese, and they went for the second one. And I'm struggling to think which would be the better choice, because it both, since they are quite behind, they lead to bad results in the end.
Yeah, I feel like finishing off Max is probably more important because he's got the Persian knights, so he has extra attack against archers as well. And now Sitaux wants to push Villese at the same time as well, but Villese has the Celtic mangonels, which helps with the defense quite a lot.
Yeah, I have some experience with those Celtic mangonels. They are strong indeed. Anyway, they are not finishing Max off. They are killing some stables, but it's nowhere near enough damage. Bruh has added some TCs himself, but he's still behind 30 villas. Actually, they both are behind 30 villas, and Villese and Max, they are booming nicely. And now Max chooses to go in. I don't think it's quite enough just yet, since the crossbows are fighting a amazing spot, but there comes a mangonel from behind, and those crossbows, the nice spot that they had is actually turning into hell. And
oh, the ground attack. The ground attack was beautiful there, and that means that the Finns clean this up very, very easily.
Yeah, that cleans up the army really easily, and that ground attack, that also destroys my game. So while that was happening, I have crashed from the game. Anyway.
It was a so big mangonel shot that it crashed your game.
Yeah, anyway, I think I can keep watching your stream and I'll commentate on what I see here.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, probably not enough time to actually catch up in the game because it's looking really grim for the Bruh+Sitaux.
It is. It's a 60 villagers lead, and indeed, you don't even have to tune into my stream for this, because Bruh+Sitaux just call it. Totally understandable, because now they only have 17 crossbows, 8 knights, and 2 camels against 26 Persian knights with full upgrades. And both Max and Villese are close to imping here.
Yeah, it's really looking bad for them, and it's the right call to GG. I'm really surprised how they played, because they tried to go for really heavy all-in fuel play. Maybe it could have worked, but because Sitaux has such a bad ego, he couldn't afford the fletching, and with only the scouts of Max, he was able to chase them away. He killed the scouts because the fletching-less archers didn't do any damage to the +1 armor scouts of Max, and he just sat there, tanked the damage of the archers and killed the scouts of Bruh, and also had to chase. Also was able to chase the army of Sitaux away from the walls of Villese. So at that moment, their strat really fell apart, and I'm a little bit surprised that they choose to play such all-in style, because I think there are solid players in this kind of knight, crossbow, archer, scout plays. So maybe they are lacking a little bit of confidence with how they play right now.
Yeah, they went for a very risky play, and well, this means that they will have to play their other home map, which is Eruption. And we did talk about Gods not being a civ for Cape of Storms. It looks like now Max and Villese will go for a very lethal combination of Mayans and Gods. Game number 3, Eruption, is coming up. So
yeah, I have managed to start my game. I'm waiting at the 10 seconds right now.
All right, so I'm there as well. So we can do a countdown with 3, 2, 1, and go. So welcome to Eruption. We will have Villese and Max coming in here. Max is going to be playing Gods in green and Mayans for Villese in blue versus Incas in red for Sitaux. Maybe the last time we're going to see an Inca will rush in a tournament. And Bruh in yellow Berbers.
Yeah, we could see an Inca will rush. Is it going to be a good option in this map? Perhaps. It's hard to say. I haven't seen it on this map before, but it has potential. Then again, Incas are not that bad archer civs. They have Thumbring, they have Arbalest for the upgrades, and maybe they decide to use Incas as archer civs instead and play standard knight crossbow combinations, because when we're thinking about the civs of the Finns, they have gods and mayans, and I don't think you really want to be stuck making knights with gods. So if they don't have archers, then the goth with the pikemen can just dominate the middle, and that's going to be a problem. So maybe taking that into consideration, they can't really afford to go for the will rush.
Yeah, that is definitely a legitimate point. Basically, the Incas kind of feel like if they just play archers, like a worse version of Mayans. They have Thumbring and they have everything, it's just Mayans are generally better, but as you said, Incas are very decent as an archer civ, and that is often overlooked because everybody thinks about the Veil Rush only with them.
Yeah, they are decent. They don't have any great bonuses in a sense, but they can still fill the role with how they have all the upgrades. And well, I'm curious to see what they have thought for the gods. They are not sending a wheel forward as of yet. One use of them is always to send the one wheel forward for the laming. That has nice potential always. But it's not happening for Max, at least. Not yet. And well, it's going to be too late for it anyway, later in the game.
Sitaux is pushing in some deer from this ridge, which obviously helps boosting his eco quite a bit, because, well, everybody else will not have any kind of extra huntables, so even just 1 or 2 deers can help you quite a bit, securing a slightly better feudal age time or so. So I think that at this point the gods will probably open knights, because they kind of have to. It's a matter of how do you follow it up with, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be quite hard for gods to actually compete with Berbers with cheaper knight bonus. So I would be a little bit surprised if they opt to play that kind of standard play style, because obviously it's not going to favor them that much. Yeah, you can use the knights as meat seared for the Mayans, and you secure a good game for the Mayans that way, but still it feels bad. So have to see.
We will have a Drush here from Max, and do you think that like a Drush FC could be viable here? That's something I want to ask in general. Do you think it's better to like go up to fast feudal, and then you just go for a couple of scouts, or maybe even without scouts, just boom up into Castle Age, or like Drush FCs or FCs are legitimate on this map when you don't have a lot of deer that you can use?
It depends a little bit on the map. I mean, often you have good wood tiles or wood lines, and you can wall up quite nicely. As Bruh is doing actually massive walls, and Max is trying to steal the boar while we are talking of this. Sorry, I'm not answering your question.
That's a very late. That's a very late lane from Max. He already had a weak scout, so it's a 1 HP scout, and I guess it is more about just delaying that boar because it felt quite impossible for him to lane that boar all the way back home.
Yeah, definitely. He's now sending the militias forward, and there's still quite a lot for Bruh to wall. And I don't think he knows that the militia is coming, so I don't know if he's going to be rushing those walls. No, he doesn't know about the militia, and also he doesn't know how his rest of the map looks like. So those militias might... And they are still far away, so probably won't get in.
I don't think they will have the chance to get in. Sitau's base will definitely be walled by the time they arrive. They might be able to hit Bruh here, but I think the main thing is that by the time Max finds that he has to go all the way to the right, it's the... By the time he arrives there, the walls will be up.
Yeah, they should be up. I mean, he has the 2 wheels there, and he has the time to do it. He has Loom as well. There's one bear to unknow him, but should not be a problem at all. And yeah, and Max is not even going that way. And going back to your original question, if it's better to go to Rush FC or just few scouts, I think when you actually look at the map, feudal aggression might be a little bit underrated here, because yes, there are often good wood lines, but they are far away from the base. So with archers and scouts, you might be able to break in. Like, let's see, Villese maps or the map of Max, then they would be pretty weak against scouts and archer play, I have to say. Bruh as well, so yeah, maybe that's a little bit underrated strat on this map indeed, but everybody seems to be just going full walls and going for the fast castle.
Yeah, as you said, I feel like feudal age aggression here could work nicely against Bruh because his walls are so far away. But as you said, everybody is just going for a fast castle overall. Sitaux is gonna have a decent amount of food for him, so he should be good to go to click into Castle Age immediately. Bruh is gonna have a little bit of a harder time because his food count isn't looking great.
Yeah, he has been spending so much villager time and resources on the walls that his eco is not that great, but he should get there eventually. He has... Maybe he could use a couple of more wheels on the berries to really get that food count up. But yeah, it looks like maybe it's going to be Archer play from Sitaux. So Archer Knights from the Bruh+Sitaux. Yeah, probably.
Interesting that Max is walling like all the way to the right side, but he didn't actually wall off that hole in between those wood lines with the stone.
Yeah, he must think that he is completely walled.
But like, that's absolutely not guaranteed, so that's sort of a mistake from Max there.
Yeah, I think he should be able to check that. And also, luckily for him, there's no feudal aggression coming to him, so that's not going to cost him, at least not yet. Although it's a huge mistake, he is lucky in that sense that there's no threat, actually.
So, we also have a hole here for Villese. He thinks that he's walled on the right side, and look at Sitau's eagle. He's waiting there, so it looks like both Somi players will have some critical mistakes when it comes to walling here.
Yeah, those definitely are mistakes. Max is now finally finding his hole. And maybe he will be complaining on the TeamSpeak that, oh, I had a hole in the front, and maybe that will trigger Villese to check his holes as well. But it could be happen that that's going to be left open. That's one of those spots that often gets overlooked by the players. They think that wood extends all the way to the edge of the map, so it would be closed. It's a quite common mistake.
Yeah, Max actually finished off his walls, although he overchopped his wood lines, so something that he needs to be careful about. For later stages, we'll have Knights by standard by Bruh, most likely archers, indeed double range archers from Sitaux, and double range archers as well from Villes.
Yeah, seems pretty standard. I have to say, it's pretty ballsy to play gods this way against Berbers. The advantage that Berbers have is huge, but maybe they're hoping that they can offset that advantage with Mayans against Incas, and just have some meat on the at the front of the crossbows to really use the minions to the maximum.
Indeed. We will have only one stable for both Max and Bruh, which is, I think, no surprise. Like, when you fast castle like this, your eco isn't going to be that super strong. Most of your farms are without horse color, so you might not be able to afford making knights on both stables immediately.
Yeah, and there are also not that many crucial targets at the early castle age that would warrant 2 stable knights, so it's better to get that boom going. But we have been keeping an eye on that hole, and the eagle is still there. Villes hasn't noticed. His archers are out of position completely, and Sitaux is sneaking there with 4 archers. Should be crossbows, probably with fletching as well. Or, I mean, Botkin, and yes, they are indeed happening, and this could be a lot of dead wheels.
Indeed. Luckily for our blue player, he's got a couple of crossbows back at home, but indeed, imagine if this was not 4 crossbows, but let's say 5, 6, 7. Still, that is one way to hit Villes very, very hard, and this should be a tutorial on why to check for holes at the edge of forests.
Yeah, definitely. That's already 3 wheels done, and now he's having to spend all his time chasing those crossbows, which is really annoying. He's now falling back. He has 6 against 4. Should be able to kill those, but with a proper micro, Sitaux just can't claim the hill. Just closely missing the opportunity, and Villes is walking in and cleaning those crossbows eventually. 3 wheels at this stage is huge, though.
Yeah, especially like yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. And also that eagle finishing off that 1 crossbow. So they traded 4 crossbows against 6, and also 3 wheels. So it's a great start for Sitaux already.
Yeah, it's a very, very good start, and that hole is now being closed. But as you said, 3 villagers at this stage is fairly big. Sitaux is at 10 crossbows with defense upgrade coming in, and you did mention that what the Finns are hoping in is to offset the Gothic disadvantage compared to Berbers with Mayans versus Incas. But if the Mayan player takes this much damage, then they might not be able to offset that easily.
Yeah, and also he doesn't have that many crossbows, and Bruh has great amount of knights already, and they are trying to get us that small amount of crossbows. The max knights arrive just in time, but also the knights from Bruh are from behind, so a lot of flanking action going here. Villes is able to save his crossbows and also pick off a few from Sitaux, so that was a good fight for the Finns.
Yeah, that was a good one, and they needed that because Max is not having any defense upgrades on those knights, and I think there is a hole in between that house and the range.
Yeah, there definitely is, but there are enough crossbows for Bruh to think twice before going in. He doesn't have that great upgrades either, only +2 and no bloodlines, so it's not really an opportunity that you can jump into.
So, Max for now is dropping TC number 2, whereas Bruh is still playing 1 TC and double stables only. Sitaux, triple ranges though, and he's gonna have a university for ballistics soon.
Yeah, this is one of those maps that if you would really have the army advantage and you are occupying the space between the 2 enemy players, and you can always fall to the hill, so it's gonna be hard for the defending team to actually get good engagements, and Bruh and Sitaux, they recognize that, and they are going really massively for that army. As you said, 3 range production, 2 stables from Bruh, and Bruh also doesn't have a second TC yet, so they are really looking to get that army number advantage.
Indeed, Do you think that we will see Brew placing his second TC in the middle? Because both Finns are dropping their TCs back at home for now, and it's only one TCs from Bruh+Sitaux as well. So it would make sense for them to focus on the military and then drop a TC in the middle to secure the gold for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be a good way of doing it. For sure, the Finns, they don't want to add a third TC to their own bases, but instead try to look for a way to get the TC to the middle, because in the end you will run out of the code at one point. So let's see how it's going to develop. Neither is adding TCs at home, and as we are speaking, Sitaux is looking to send wheels forward to the middle to add the TC. Most likely.
Yeah, it makes sense for him because he's got the military advantage over here on the ridge, slight eco lead for the Finns, but this map is not necessarily about eco, it's about controlling the gold in the middle.
Yeah, it definitely is about that.
What is that TC spot though for Sitaux? Okay, he cancelled it for a moment. He wanted to place that TC on the ridge and I was very, very surprised about that. Maybe just a misclick.
Yeah, maybe he thought that it's gonna be like a base of operations that he can fall back into if the enemy is trying to actually catch his army, so he has something to fall back into faster. But he thinks otherwise in the end and makes the TC to the code. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, that is by far the best thing to do here. It looks like Max and Villese are grouping up armies on the left side. I wonder if they like want to take the hill and then try to get a TC up on the left side of the pit, because that could make sense for them. They will need gold soon. Max buying himself the resources for chain barding.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Villese is Mayan, so he's gonna have some gold or more gold than the opponents. For sure. Pro now finally adding TCs.
There is a hole, I believe, in between those houses for Villese. Indeed, there is.
Yeah, there definitely is, and yeah, that army is actually it's getting inside, but they are gonna be trapped, and yes, they will cause a little bit of eco damage, but they won't have an easy way to escape from here. Villese has quite strong walls in all over his base, and I think this is actually a huge mistake by the Bruh+Sitaux team.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree. Like, they will be surrounded. It's going to be tumbling crossbows even, and they want to focus the middle. If they lose their entire army, this will let Max and Villese just make TCs themselves in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. And yes, they have the hill and they have more knights, but Villese has more crossbows, and if he just can focus those crossbows down, and now they actually decide to engage with knights. Villese making a small mistake, sending a small group of crossbows away, which could have been helping a lot in this fight, but it doesn't matter in the end. They seem to clean up all the knights from Brew, and also the crossbows from Sitaux are going to die as well. So this is, I mean, yeah, there was a hole, and you think that when there's a hole, you go in and you try to do as much damage as you can, but this was actually a terrible, terrible mistake by Bruh+Sitaux.
Yeah, they just went in and lost their entire army, so now it's 30 crossbows with tumbling for Villese and 18 knights for Max. Although, we have to add that the crossbow numbers are still good for Sitaux. Imagine if they just camp the middle and wait until Max and Villese run out of gold, because they could have done that.
Yeah, they probably could have done that for sure. But it's hard to make the right call, right? When you're playing, you don't know what we know. We don't see the economic situations and also the army situation, so it's hard to know what to do.
Yeah, it is always a hard thing to do, especially when Sitaux and Brew are holding this hill, and this will make it much harder for Max and Villese to push up. And the clock is ticking really badly, because at some point you are going to need gold. Max is running out of his first gold mine, and he's already consuming the second one, so they have like, what, 5-10 minutes game time at maximum to get to the middle.
Yeah, even though they were able to clean up that army, Sitaux and Brew, they were able to mass enough to prevent from the remaining army of Villese and Max to enter the middle. So it didn't backfire on them as badly as I was fearing, in the sense that they lose the fight in village base and then they will also lose the control of the hill in the middle, and that would allow the Finns to enter the gold in the middle. But it didn't happen, so it's not that terrible for Bruh+Sitaux in the end.
And it's Imperial Age for Villese. One of the ways that they can secure the middle is if they can get to Imperial with Arbs. And now it's 8 on stone for Villese and 7 for Max, so most likely the Finns will wait until Imp, grab Arbalest and Bracer, and then drop 2 castles in the middle.
Yeah, once he gets the Arbalest, there is really no way of stopping them from marching to the middle. Yes, they have to march uphill, so that's an issue, but they are going to be so much stronger than crossbows, and they will also decimate those knights really fast. So
here's a castle from Sitaux, and that is going to slow down Suomi's progress towards the middle, and the cheaper Inca castles could help a tiny bit. Sitaux is very heavy on stone, and honestly, it could make sense to try and drop like a second castle in between Max and the pit, and that would prevent him from securing a castle in the middle, even if they have Arbalests.
Yeah, that is true. That's going to buy a lot of time for them, even though the economy from Sitaux is not great, in the sense that he's far, far away from clicking to Imp. So even though they have the position with the castles, they're still both far away from Imp. So maybe it would be acceptable for Villese to add a little bit more conservative castle as well and start tripping those castles down.
We are having barracks being added here by Max and Detect into scale mail, so he was thinking about maybe going for a castle back at home and getting a couple of Huskars in, but you said that gods will have this problematic transition, and this commitment into this hole feels a lot better than the previous one was.
Yeah, especially since the Villese crossbows are not there to help. They're going to be Arbalests, but they can't really help Max right now, and he has to make the choice if he's going to go and help Max or go and claim the middle. And it might be a better choice to go for the middle, and Max is doing his 6 TC defense again and adding extra TCs to protect his fields. Also getting those archer upgrades for the town centers to get those knights faster. And yes, he's taking damage, but Villese is, and they're making the call. Villese is sending half to the middle and half to help Max, and I think this is a good choice. The damage is done, but he now has to take the middle.
Yeah, and if you look at the villager count, it's not that bad. I mean, Max lost villas, but he's still at 84 villagers, which is the second best in the game. So, yeah, it looks ugly, but the reality is that their eco is still pretty good, and it doesn't change the fact that neither Bruh or Sitaux are close to Imp. So, yes, Max took some damage, but I feel like, given the circumstances, this is still very good for the Finns.
Yeah, it is. He took surprisingly little damage, and the will counts are also surprising, but that is outcome of the fact that the Bruh was staying 1 TC so long and only has 1 extra TC in the middle, so he's still 2 TCs, and Max has been booming behind all of this, despite kind of matching the knight numbers of Bruh, which, in my opinion, should not happen. Like, gods should not be able to match the numbers of Bruh. So. Indeed.
And now, as you said, this castle is even better than one that would be like close to the base of Villese, because now he's even grounds with that castle and he can start trapping it down. Sitaux is going to Imp himself here, though, and he would have 70 orbs if he gets to Imp, but there's a big if there.
Yeah, he still hasn't. Well, just now is clicking, and it's gonna be a long time before that Imp is gonna hit. It's gonna be giving time for Villese to take control of that middle, but they have a chance.
I think that indeed Bruh and Sitaux have a chance, because that's a lot of knights, and they could just snipe that trap. One of the things that you can do when you have so many knights, and the army numbers are still better for Bruh and Sitaux, so it is very possible that Sitaux can keep that castle alive if he just has his teammate snipe that trap for him.
Yeah, the army of Villese is a little bit split in 3 groups. He's sending 1 group to, say, Max, and also he has 1 in the middle denying a little bit of gold, not much, and also a small group defending the trap. So if they make the call, those knights definitely could go and clean those traps.
And they will. By the way, Max is taking gold from the secondary gold of Bruh. Apparently Bruh has the middle and he doesn't really care about his other gold, which is quite a bit of a mistake. But they have to keep that castle alive, especially with another castle coming in here for Villes. They need to snipe those traps no matter what.
Yeah, but now actually Villes was grouping his two armies in the middle together. So now if the knights go in, they are going to take massive losses. And also the knights of Max are now defending the traps, so that window is gone. And they can't really go for the traps anymore. The castle is going to go down. They have a lot of army and are going to go for the eco of Villes instead, but I don't know if it matters that much.
Yeah, now that's quite a lot of knights pushing the base of Villes, and this will force Villes to move back, and that once again buys some time for Bruh+Sitaux. And Imp is coming in for Bruh as well.
Yeah, that's if they can buy enough time with the Imp of Bruh, they can maybe still bring the game for themselves, because Max resources are not looking great. He has a lot of wheels, but he's also producing pikemen now. Maybe he's also producing knights, so he's not looking to go up just yet. Maybe if he would just stop the production, he could click up.
Yeah, the problem... I think the problem is that gods cannot do anything in this situation. Like, knight or cavalier from Berberus with crossbow will just beat whatever... Like, it's going to be Arbs and maybe Huskars, but cavalier and Arbs will just beat that.
Yeah, it would beat if it would be only be the infantry, but there are also the arbalests from Villes behind that army, so I think they still add some value to the combination they have. And as we are speaking, they are getting a huge fight at the castle that Villes is trying to force at the top of the hill. The knights are not up yet, so he's gonna be losing a lot, even though Villes is also taking a lot of casualties, but the pikes finally arrive and the knights have to fall back, and that was a lot of knights that Bruh lost. That could have been cavaliers in just a few minutes.
And also the Arbs. These Arbs only have +1 defense, and Thumbring just came in, as opposed to fully upgraded Mayan Arbs. So this is an awful fight for Bruh+Sitaux.
Yeah, it was an awful fight to take. And Villes, while he has been being harassed a little bit, he still had a great mass of arbalests. And now they have no answer to this. The arbalests of Sitaux are going down. The army number are lower and lower, and also Bruh lost all the knights, and soon they will be also driven away from the middle, and Bruh can't afford to remake that army anymore, so that potential power spike that he had is now gone as well.
Yeah, I think their hope could be that Sitaux could potentially sling a bit of resources to Bruh so that he can get like 30 cavalier, because that could be enough castle for on the left side coming in here, something that is looking really rough for Bruh.
Yeah, the Bruh is also making a counter castle, but the pikesmen are there, and well, Max is gonna get his castle up, and the castle of Bruh should not go up, and soon they will be driven away from the middle. Villes is adding 4th castle, and he has 2 traps, so that castle of Sitaux should go down quite fast as well.
Elite skirms in now for Sitaux. They will have cavalier, but they really have to make that cavalier count, otherwise they're in big trouble. We shouldn't forget, though, that Max is still Castle Age, and that's something to point out.
Yeah, but Max is 200 pop, and if he just stops production, he's gonna click up instantly almost. He has great ego behind this.
Yeah, he was missing the gold, and now he's able to secure some gold in the middle. Another castle could go up here for Villes. It's kind of now or never for Bruh+Sitaux. They have to use that 30 Cavalier to fight those Arbs.
Yeah, but in the production of 2 castles, even though they can clean the traps and force the arbalest back, they will get a lot of casualties. They are going in now, the knights are dancing a little bit, trying to avoid the damage as much as they can, but the arbalest numbers are just massive, and the poor knights are getting mowed down.
Yeah, indeed, hoardings even for those castles. And Sitaux is still missing even +2 defense, just came in for him, so his Arbs are not as good as the opponent's Arbs, and as he said, Imp is going to come in here for Max, who's already pushing the opponent's base with a couple of pikemen. And I think soon Huskars will be a thing.
Yeah, for sure he's preparing for them, and when that happens, Bruh+Sitaux, they have no army against that. Absolutely no chance.
And indeed, Suomi and like up being victorious. And I think if we look back at this, the deciding fight was that Bruh+Sitaux lost their army inside the base of Villese.
Yeah, and I also think that was the theme this entire set. That Bruh+Sitaux, they were lacking confidence in standard play, and instead opted to playing really heavy military style with less emphasis on the eco and try to use the army advantages they have to really gain economic advantages in the end. But also in this game, when they went in from the toll together to the base of Villese, they had the numbers for a while, but they got trapped and didn't cause enough damage to justify the trade that they got. I think before that they were in a great position, but that one fight really changed the course of the game.
Indeed, and that means that Suomi moves into the quarterfinals here. Are you surprised about the final score?
I didn't know what to expect because honestly, yeah, the Suomi team is a huge favorite here, right? We can all agree with that. But Bruh+Sitaux, they are good players. They beat us, and also they beat Lan and Hart, which is not an easy feat. So maybe I was expecting a little bit more from them. I think 3-2 or 3-1 for the Finns. So 3-0 definitely a little bit surprising for me.
Yeah, I was also like, if I had to make a guess, I would have gone for 3-1. And I think that Bruh+Sitaux sometimes had their moments, especially this game. This could have been 2-1 after this game, but small details went wrong, like that one fight, and Suomi ends up being victorious.
Yeah, when you play low eco style and really heavily on the army, you have to be decisive. You have to know what to do with the army advantage and really deal decisive damage. Because the longer the game goes, the more behind in eco you are going to fall if you are not causing really heavy damage. And they were not really able to do that in any of those games. With the smaller army numbers, the Finns, they were able to buy a lot of time for themselves, and when the time was right, they got a good fight for them, and with that advantage, they just run away.